From beginner to advanced, it doesn't really matter where you are on the spectrum. I feel there's always something to learn. So today I thought I'd show you through some of my tricks, tips, things that I've learned over nearly 40 years now. I believe I've developed a really wonderful process. First, we should start with our drawing. We do want a really good drawing book. This one I've been using for pretty close to 35 years. It's an acid-free paper, so we know that it's a decent standard, but also it's a very smooth paper as well. So I have an ability to be able to put the graphite down and not have too much texture to take away from what I'm trying to do. We also want 2B pencils up to about 6B. That will give us a nice range of darks and very, very darks. Any more than that, I think we may be pushing it and we're changing the graphite a little too much and it's almost going to look like charcoal. But we also want a good sharpener and also a kneadable rubber. That's pretty well all we need. I used to just take the old-fashioned deck chair. Years ago I'd put my Walkman on, but now we can just put the AirPods in and then we can draw away. I found early on with my first painting trips, that very first time I drove back home thinking, that was horrific, that was horrible, I don't think I can do this. So then I realised the drawing was my avenue in. I thought I was only going to do it for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, but I did it for 3 years. That's when I started to migrate on to painting outside. This was one of my favourite little areas that my father and I and a few artist friends, we would go and paint Kev Penny and Giles Lane. We'd meet once a week. We almost did that for about 12 years. So that became my foundation for my process. Definitely get the basics with the drawing. So that's getting that tonal plan. So if we come in for a close look, we'll be able to sort of see the texture. I was probably putting the paint on a little too thick, but I think the thing I liked is there's a good use of colour. I'm already starting to look for nice darks up against those lights. This was a little bit more in my father's style. So I was quickly and recommended to make sure I develop a way away. That was painted on masonite, where now I prefer to paint on MDF board, which I have checked in water. I put it in for 24 hours. It did expand a little bit, but within a couple of days, it did actually respond back and go back to its original shape. Mold and sort of water, that's probably the main two things, but it is a gessoed board, which I do love for that texture. It's not too thick, it's not too sort of rough, so it's not going to be difficult to get the paint on. But that is my preferred and favoured approach almost 98% of the time, even though I do not mind a canvas. This is Centurion. Jerry's Artorama is the place that you can buy it from. It's an oil primed, and I think that's the key. I have tried the acrylic ones, but this just flows beautifully, and it is a fairly smooth one as well, so I'm not going to wear my brushes out. That's the concern with a rough surface. So what we'll do, we'll have a look at some paints. So I have my paint drawer. When you're working outside, I'll always, of course, have one of each, and that's where I do like the archival paints. At the moment, they're not super available, but as a general rule, they've really served me well. They're, I think, ranked in the top 10 paints in the world. They're one of the, I think, only 2 paints that can recommend that if you use all of their paints and their mediums, they'll give you a lifetime guarantee, or up to 300 years, I believe. They've got a very long life for their archivalness. So I think now we should have a little look at my paints and my brushes, where I put the paints out. But first, I'd love to go through the brushes. I only have a fairly simple, small number of brushes. The synthetic ones from Rosemary & Co. This one is super important. This does most of the heavy lifting. And as you'll notice, it's more like a chisel. I use solvent on this and all of my brushes because I find that's the easiest, fastest thing. I never ever use soap and water. The thing that soap will do, and you may want to do this on purpose if you paint fairly tight, but I love that chisel effect. So what water will do, we'll spread it like that, but also twist it like that. I call that crazy hair. And that's a real concern when we're wanting to get those lovely, sharp, chiseled effects. So I have my palette here. I always put my paints out in the same order. If you are left-handed, I am right-handed, you may want to flip it, but the important part is to have them in the same spot. So when I'm wanting white, blue, red, whatever the color is, I instinctively know where to go. I'm not thinking, oh, where do I put my green? So I have my medium. You want to put plenty of paint out. You want to think in terms of elephant droppings, not bird droppings. You almost want to paint like someone else is buying the paint for you. So you're not putting little skerricks out. So you're painting along, everything's going great. And then you think, oh, I've run out of paint again. And then you're stopping and putting more paint out, stopping and putting more paint out. But the medium, I do love a fairly fast drying medium. That is a marvelous medium, odorless, lean medium. That's good for small to medium size. When I do the bigger paintings, the Yellow Label Classic Medium is sensational. So that's all done on a glass palette. When I'm outside, I have just a simple, cheap little palette that I've made up to almost mimic a glass palette, but not the worry of it breaking. So I'm layering the paint on super thin when I'm starting. And if you can see the board come through, that is not a problem at all. Because the great danger with oil paint is, and I think it's probably the one mistake that a lot of oil painters make, is that they put too much paint on, and then when we need to do the corrections, so it's really that second stage, that's when you want to start to put that thicker paint on, and that's when we start to layer it. And it almost goes from a stain to almost putting butter on. So it's that thickness of paint. And of course, I'm wanting to put as thin layer of paint as possible in my distance as well. In comparison to that first painting, I'm now more wanting to put thicker paint here in getting a transition to as thin a paint as possible. Even if it's a big, powerful, cloudy sky, I think that's still super important as well, so that we're not only using colour, tone, perspective and all that, we're also using thickness of paint to create that depth and distance. With this one, this is from Killarney, from a little family trip. Managed to find the subject on a family trip. The one thing I did enhance was I photoshopped the cows in, which when you think, interesting scene, but pow, that's where we get that wow factor, that X factor into our paintings. And even though it did take a little bit of work to get it, and normally I'll like anything from 3 to 6 hours. That's normally one of the most popular questions people will ask me. How long does it take? And it always really depends on your painting on the day, because some days you're working better than others, but normally it's about that 3 to 6 hours. And the more technically difficult may get up to the 6 hours. And I have spent a 7-hour period where I've painted on one single painting. It was an interior. So don't try and limit yourself to, oh geez, Collie said 3 to 6 hours. It's almost like that, how long's a piece of rope? It's as long as we need it to be. So there's so much, but these are my fundamentals that I think you can really learn from and improve your work. Keep learning, keep thinking. I hope you enjoyed this presentation today. All the best. Bye for now.